2024 is about to wrap up, and it has been the year of animation. With the movies and shows that we got this year, it touches my heart to see so many pieces of art get created this year. At the same time, we are finally getting animation that is growing up and maturing with the audience. True adult animation is breaking out of the hold of Family Guy level. Shows like X-Men 97 and Arcane have been hit with insane levels of detail and gripping stories that cultivate insane conclusions that left millions in tears. And even the movies directed towards kids are hitting hard with the spectacle, writing, and style. Transformers 1 and Wild Robot have delivered on being standouts, and have tons of people talking about them online, even with the marketing team screwing one of them over. This is incredible, and if you know me, I am a huge fan of animation. It is an art form that inspires me. We are finally growing out of the idea that animation is a genre, and people are finally understanding that animation is a storytelling tool that is capable of being explored in many different ways. There are many others, but the four I mentioned previously are the ones that I believe have made the biggest impact this year and are worth talking about. As not only do they stand out in a visual sense, but also in their writing and tones as well. It reinforces that this tool can tell many different stories, from an exciting action-adventure movie about how two best friends turn into the biggest rivals, a beautiful spectacle of machine and nature, an emotional roller coaster of family and friendship bonds, and the greatest X-Men revival I have seen. These are the ones that I want to talk about. Also, I didn't include Second Level on here because I wrote this script before it came out, but it's really good. I like the episode so far. Here's how I would rate them on best to worst. Might make a video on it in the future.
To me, my X-Men.
I don't know who Cyclops' agent is, but they deserve a fucking raise for making him one of the coolest characters that everyone ended up loving this year. Between X-Men 97 and the Marvel vs. Capcom collection this year, Cyclops has been hitting a hot streak. And it also helps that this show is freaking awesome as well. X-Men 97 was one of the most pleasant surprises that everyone had this year because the animation works way better than anyone thought it would. With a mix of 3D and 2D animation, it stands out as one of the most unique looks to an animated show I've seen. Compared to the flatness of the animation from What If, the colors and movements pop out tremendously and serve in the show's favor. The action scenes alone are enough to sell the show with how each character moves, making each stand out with the choreography. We see Cyclops uses I-beams as an attack and maneuverability, and we see awesome team-ups like Logan and Gambit combining powers to do more damage. These scenes end up being more engaging than action scenes in other shows because they show something new and broadcast the characters in a unique fashion that fits with their powers. But this was also a great step for the X-Men as a whole as well, as this introduced them as an entirety, rather than having Logan, Charles, and Magnus be the only characters that matter. We were finally able to have Scott, Jean, Rogue, and Remy really come into their own, and have all of them flourish in engaging ways. The drama around the team was just as engaging as the action in the show. Seeing the dilemma between Storm coming to terms with losing her powers was heartbreaking. And it made Magneto's speech much more powerful as it reinforces his frustrations and perspective on humanity. But also, his promise to his friend was still stronger than his lust for revenge and control. And the other stories continued to be engaging as well, like the dilemma of Jean Grey returning and Madison's struggle to figure out who she is. All while Scott is coming to terms with which Jean he truly loves, and the drama is handled maturely without making the audience groan, which is what the X-Men has always been about. Almost every storyline this season was wrapped up expertly, and the final episode came in with a climactic ending, which makes me interested to see what they will be going through in the next season. They also did not pull any punches as well. They weren't afraid to take out your favorite characters. And man, did my boy Gambit go out with a bang. He really did make a name for himself. Now, despite a few slips, the pacing is a little fast at times, and some characters got a bit on my nerves. Sunspot is annoying to me, and I find myself getting tired of him quickly. It doesn't help that these types of characters are ones that I hate the most. But thankfully, he's not the main focus of the show all the time, and the good outweighs the bad. X-Men 97 is a fantastic show that introduces the characters and the team saga well. I guarantee you'll be humming the theme song when you start watching it.
The age
puppets! Follow me, and you will never again be deceived! Rise up!
This is a reminder that you should watch Transformers 1 and support it in any and every way you can. This is also a reminder to Hasbro that we better get a goddamn sequel to this movie. I won't fail you, buddy. You did a better job promoting this movie than the marketing team ever did. This movie was amazing. My favorite movie of the year, and honestly, I wasn't expecting to say that about a Transformers movie of all things. The 3D animation is stunning, and establishing shots are when the scenes put their best foot forward. Showing the bustling city of Cybertron to the bright colors of the surface, it all blends with these character designs that stand out and continue to get better as we see the main four get their upgrades. The art style and movements took me back to the film Robots by Blue Sky, rest in peace. The action scenes are engaging on multiple fronts and encourage the viewer to watch multiple times to see what they missed. So much love was put into each scene that even exposition is engaging, especially with scenes involving Alpha Trion, my goat. The way they animated the sands to use as imagery for its explanation was awesome. And now I want to make a Warforged Druid as my new D&D character. This is him, by the way. I made him in Hero Forge. If you want to know more, I'll put it in the comments. The animation would have made this movie worth seeing regardless of the story, and I went into the theater expecting to find a generic, plucky, standard Transformers movie that was held up by the action. And what I got was a brutal display of political corruption, betrayal, manipulation, and a revolution that the French would blush at. The story of D16 and Orion Pax is engaging and heartbreaking at the same time, even if we know where the story is going to go. It still makes the eventual downfall engaging to see just from how they get to it. D16's consistent frustration and anger at everything he stood for being a lie, and Orion coming into being the hero that Cybertron needs. And that is elevated by the speeches that they both have before the final battle. D16 becomes more blood, or I guess spark thirsty, in gaining the trust of the High Guard, and Optimus' speech to the miners had me saluting in the theater. And I don't think I need to talk about this scene. This is cinema. The culmination of the entire movie has built up to this scene, and it excels expectations. Every time I see it, I get goosebumps. And it helps that the other characters are great too. Bee is charming, Elita has her moments, Sentinel is delightfully evil, and Arachnid is on the rule of cool when it comes to henchmen characters. I love this movie, and I want to do whatever I can to make sure more people know about it. It has generated a love for Transformers that I always knew was there, but now the spark is lit, and I hope we get to see more someday.
But you can call me Roz.
There seems to be a pattern when it comes to DreamWorks. They'll release something amazing out of nowhere, then something forgettable that no one talks about, and then another banger. The Wild Robot is beautiful. A movie with a simple plot, but it's presented engagingly, making the art stand out. What I noticed the most when watching this movie was the character's movements. The design of Roz in this movie allows her to maneuver in a large variety of ways, and supports an awesome blend of animal gestures and tech with her robotic gadgets. The simple design also gave the animators a lot of freedom to express the detail of what's within her chassis. There are a lot of details that are bound to be missed on a first watch through, and so much emotion to her character that can be conveyed from just her eyes. The fact that I'm referring to Roz as her is enough to give you an idea of how human she feels. Even the animals are animated expertly, from Fink, Brightbill, and even the other side animals have so much expression to them, while still looking accurate to the animals that they are. This is something that's lost in something like The Lion King live action, where the characters just feel so emotionless. Because I'm just looking at a fucking lion! But the movie also delivers on the cinematography as well. The use of long cuts is spectacular, and they sell the impact of the hits and build on the scale of the island and the environment ahead. The colors pop out of the screen as well, with highly contrasting bright colors that catch the attention of the viewer and blend the art style, much like Puss in Boots. The combination of the 3D animation with the painting aspect gives this film personality, and the lighting builds emotion with every scene. The attention to detail does not go unnoticed. The writing is commendable as well. with some really funny moments that got quite a few chuckles out of me. One of my favorite details that I noticed was the subtle change in Roz's voice throughout the movie. She goes from having a standard robotic vocabulary and pairs it with the same fanfare tone and artificial lines. But as the influence of Brightbill and Fink continues, the way she talks and her tone changes. And this is expressed when she talks to the other robots. Lupita Nyong'o does a fantastic job. Seeing her transform from Rosm Unit 7134 to Roz moved me so much. This movie also gets a bonus for being a mother-son dynamic as well. A lot of media utilizes the father-daughter dynamic quite a bit, and don't get me wrong, I love that as much as the next guy. But it makes me happy to see that the moms are getting their time to shine as well. Also, a reminder, call your moms, everyone. She wants to know how you're doing, and you should tell her that you love her every now and then, alright? Finally, we get the epic conclusion of League of Legends skin advertisement, and fooling a bunch of people into playing it because of lesbians. Boy, are they in for a wild ride when they play this game. Now, Season 2 is a rather interesting case. As a lot of people have mentioned, it was not as tightly written as Season 1. And I would agree. Season 1 had more consistent writing and more focused plots with the characters, and the expectation of waiting 3 years was never going to live up to the hype. Season 2 has noticeably more lows in Season 1, but is made up for with the highest of highs. Characters like Caitlyn are vastly more interesting than she was in Season 1, and the animation continues to be just as engaging with both the action scenes and the set dressing. For TJ's animation style continues to stand out, not just from the other studios, but also from the other work as well. While they did have some high-quality animated shorts with the other leaked shorts, Arcane continues to stand out as the studio's magnum opus. There are so many shots in this show that can be used as desktop wallpapers, and I wouldn't be surprised if people have already used wallpapers for scenes like this, and this. While yes, I would agree that the show was rushed and could have used more episodes, I would be lying to myself if scenes like Jinx and Vi getting through Warwick didn't break me. The tension that followed through with this sequence was present, and it paid off expertly in the end with a heartfelt hug. Jay suddenly killing Sallow was incredibly shocking, and seeing what he does later to Victor left me and everyone else with so many emotions and theories that the wait for Act 3 was agonizing. Then Act 3 came out with the best episode. The contrast between Echo living in heaven and Jace going through hell solidified both of them as my favorite characters in the show. Seeing the changes that Jace goes through in the show is so engaging, and he has become such a fascinating character. Meanwhile, Echo's side of the story living in the perfect timeline with his best friends, his father figure still alive, and the girl of his dreams, but knowing that it's not real, and that he is living a lie. It broke me. And it all comes down to this finale that had everyone singing French by the end of it. Add this song to the list of songs that completely break a person as soon as they hear it. And the fact that Echo could have stayed in his perfect timeline, but still decided to go back to the one that needed him, and eventually ends up being the one to save the day, is a twist of fate that works so well for this show. Especially one with this many characters as well. That's why this show will stand, and continue to be talked about for years to come, despite its flaws. But this show is fantastic, and I'm excited to see what Riot plans to do with their future projects. This year's movies have been amazing. The ones I mentioned barely scratched the surface. There have and will continue to be even more beautiful pieces to come. And I didn't even mention the fan-made animations that came out this year as well. The creatives on this site and Newgrounds have been pumping out peak. One of the most notable ones is Death Battle making a comeback with 2 of their best episodes. And they're not even backed by a partner company anymore. But it makes me happy to see that creatives are still going strong despite the existence of AI. The concern of AI art is ever present, and it's unfortunate to see how many are resorting to using it. But while it continues to get better, so can we. So to any artists, animators, voice actors, or writers, don't let the existence of AI get you down, nor the assholes that will tell you it's going to replace you. You have the potential to not only make something incredible, but unique as well. So keep drawing, keep voicing, keep writing, and keep animating. I'm excited to see what you make next. And with that, we conclude 2024 and we move on to 2025. And for those of you guys who joined in with me, thank you. It's been a hell of a year, and I wouldn't have it any other way. A lot of hardship and a lot of triumph. And I'm sure 2025 is going to have even more of that, but I look forward to it. And I hope you guys will as well. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. The next episode of the Realm Walker podcast will be out shortly, and I urge you guys to go ahead and check that out in the link in the description. But with that being said, I'll see you guys in 2025. Take care.